Well, hello there and welcome to Resi Live. I'm Daniel Larson, and today we are joined by our VP of Product, Jennifer Miles.
Hey guys, nice to see you today.
Jen, thank you so much for joining us. And this is a special treat. A lot of times we have people that are, outside of the Resi organization, seeing how they kind of utilize either Resi or, how they reach their audiences in different ways, different techniques, different strategies, and we love that. But I think one of the things that we miss a lot of times is like what's happening on the inside of Resi and like how do we, provide people with, an amazing product, amazing service. I know I'm biased, but it is.
It is a pretty amazing product.
Right. So, and we'll get into Resi like a little bit later during our conversation. But I think the thing that I would like to know most is like, how did you, get started in the world of production and even end up at Resi? So like, who is Jennifer Miles?
Yeah, so coming to Resi was actually an interesting thing for me. I've been in the church online world for about 10 years. I've been a pastor since 2003 and moved into the church online world in about 2007. And I did my master's on church online, actually.
No way.
And so had the opportunity to work with the Life Church team and learn
Oh my
about church
gosh.
online from that perspective. Learned a ton from them. Moved into helping churches and organizations around the world with their church online strategies. And then about 3 years ago, I met Paul and Colin at the CITN conference.
Okay.
And just had a great conversation. We were doing a panel about analytics for church online, and just the conversation went from there, and then had the opportunity to join Resi. And my background is one where I come from the church online world, but I've actually been in technology for the last 20 years.
Okay.
Worked at IBM, worked in consulting, helping Fortune 100s do learning management implementations. And so it just kind of was a natural fit that I fell into the product world, and have had an opportunity to do product and church online over the last 10, 20 years. So
Wow.
it was a perfect solution for me.
That's insane. The
Yeah.
amount of experience sitting across the table from me is intimidating right now.
Don't be intimidated.
Okay. So then with all that experience, obviously has come a ton of changes in the world of technology. Maybe share like the top 3 biggest changes you've seen from when you started in this world of technology to now.
Top 3. Well, so first, when I first started in church online 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it was very much you had to provide your own web solution. You had to figure all of that out and piece together multiple different technologies to actually get what you wanted to reach people in the church online world. And over the last 10, 15 years, you've really seen that kind of come together where now there's 1, 2 solutions, and then we've figured out how to distribute across all of these different outposts. And so they've really made the distribution world a lot easier.
Sure.
2 is I think we've also started to realize that when I was first in the church online world, it was really, I call it throwing spaghetti at the wall, is let's just throw a bunch of information out there and see what sticks.
Sure.
And we started to really learn how people engage with social media, how people learn and interact with digital in general. And so there's a lot more thought that goes into strategy now from an online perspective and a digital ministry perspective.
Right.
So we've really gotten focused on how do I first engage people, and then 2, how do I bring them along into a discipleship path so that when we are doing church online, it's not just I want to get people to watch. It's how do I get them to take their next step?
Right.
And that's a huge difference from 10, 15 years ago. We've gotten much more intentional.
Wow.
And so seeing people like Jeff Reed, seeing people like the Church Online team and Open Network, they've been really intentional about sharing those things. Even the CITN network, when you go, you'll hear a lot of that conversation about it's not just streaming now, it's how do I engage as well.
Yeah.
So that's probably the biggest difference.
Wow, that's crazy. So, all right. So digital discipleship, having, consumers take their next step in a way to engage in whatever that message is. What are some like effective strategies that you've seen, kind of like out there? Because I mean, there's a million different models, different ways to do that. What are some like key things that you've seen that have really worked?
Well, so it depends on I always go back to what's the culture of the church. And this applies whether you're a church, whether you're a corporation,
Right.
right? Like I talk a lot about the church online world because that's the background I came from most recently. But it applies, one of the things I love about the church is the things that we do actually work really well for corporate. They work really
Yes.
well for every other market segment I've talked to.
Absolutely.
And so from a church perspective, we have several customers who I just love kind of hearing their story and understanding how they're using Resi and like what are the things they're doing to engage. And it always goes back to what's the culture of the church, what is the goal they focus on. And sometimes it sounds like they're very similar, but in reality, how they actually live that out can be very different,
Right.
right? And so we have some customers who are very focused on, we actually try to reach people across the world. And so what's really important to us is doing distribution with different languages. We have others that are really focused in kids ministry. And so they might have like their Sunday services that they stream, but then throughout the week they have kids services.
Yep.
Like I've seen so many different organizations apply digital ministry in different ways. And that all comes back to, again,
Right.
the church culture.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So you are the VP of product here. Explain to us a little bit about what that means.
Well, first, it means that it's a wild ride just about every day. When I joined Resi, I was a product team of one. I have been here about 18 months, and our team has grown to 10 people. And that's really a testament to our customers, right?
Right.
As we have grown, especially with COVID and the focus on web streaming and digital ministry, it has really changed the way we look at our technology.
Sure.
And so we've become much more intentional. We have product managers who oversee our multi-site team and want to make sure that our multi-site customers are getting the best service. We have people who are looking at our web and our scheduling and VOD. And so from a product perspective, I really look at our entire ecosystem, and I work with customers and I work with our product team. And then I also work internally with marketing and sales
Right.
to figure out what is it that is going to make the biggest difference today from an outcome perspective for our customers. And
Sure.
so we always go back to what outcomes are our customers trying to get, and then how do we as product help prioritize those things for the biggest impact to all of our customers.
Absolutely. So what I'm hearing, guys, is that right now in the comments, this is your chance to influence what Resi is doing because Jennifer Miles is here with us. So,
Well, and I have the opportunity to talk to customers all the time.
Yeah.
I love it. And so our success team especially and our support team have been great about connecting me with customers who have very unique needs
yeah,
so that we can make sure that we are doing things that give them the best outcomes possible.
absolutely. So, along with this kind of like customer feedback loop and, talking about, what's the next stuff, that we need to work on and focus on as a company to, add value to our customers' lives and, expand our feature set. Obviously like beta testing is like a huge thing. So what's the value of beta testing? Obviously like you have a large part in that in terms of like siphoning through all the information. Talk to us about beta and then, talk to us about what we have in beta right now.
Okay. So it might be helpful to talk a little bit about the product lifecycle in general.
Absolutely.
And so oftentimes we engage customers even before we start developing a feature set. And so we will engage with different customers to understand what the need is. And really how we do that is through support tickets, sales and success conversations. And then we will reach out to customers and say, we're looking at a specific feature. So SimLive is a great one. Right now we're having
Sure.
a lot of conversations about how do we improve our SimLive workflow.
Yep.
And so we're looking through support tickets for people who have asked questions. We'll reach out to them and then we'll do what we call prototyping, where we'll actually sit down and we will walk through, here's all the pain points. Let's do 3 or 4 different options. And then we'll interview customers and say, hey, Kate, can you go through this prototype with us? And does this make it harder? Does it make it easier?
Right.
And then our development team and our engineering team work with us to actually design that.
Sure.
And then we get into alpha and beta.
Yep.
And so beta for us, we're actually in the middle of several betas right now.
Yes.
We have the video on demand beta, which I know we've talked about in the last few months quite a bit.
Absolutely.
We also have Studio, where we're actually in the middle of alpha testing right now. So
Ooh.
what alpha is for us is it's where our internal employees are actually kind of kicking the tires, helping us find bugs, helping us find little things. But again, one of the things we heard from a lot of our customers was that control was hard to use, especially people who aren't really tech savvy. or that are volunteers. And so trying to be much more intentional about our
Yeah.
workflow. And so Studio is getting ready to go through beta. And so what that means for us is that we're working with a handful of customers who we know use specific workflows in our system. And we're asking them, hey, will you go through and test this one workflow? Will you go through and try this
Right.
workflow? And then once we get a little farther along in beta, then we are, okay, go and just kick the tires and tell us what we're missing.
Right.
And so that's where we are with Studio is we're just now wrapping up. Well, we're just now starting alpha. We're going to be in that for about 3 weeks.
Okay.
And then we'll start engaging some of those customers that we know that have reached out to us actually in the last few webinars and said, we really want to be part of this.
Yeah.
And so we're going to engage them and have them kick the tires.
That is so exciting.
And Studio is one that is a really big project for us. We've been
Yeah.
working on it for over 6 months.
Yep.
And we probably have about 3 months more worth of work before we really feel like
Yeah.
it's 100%.
Yeah.
But one, we redesigned our whole front end to make that workflow make more sense and to be really focused on it's not just the distribution of your content, but it's also event scheduling.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
then where do I want to broadcast that content to?
Sure.
So it makes a lot more sense from like an event perspective. The other part is we are rewriting our scheduler from the ground up. A lot of people over the last 9-12 months, if you look at some of the support tickets, the scheduler can be confusing. There's a lot of little gotchas, especially around SimLive.
Right.
And so we've been really intentional about how do we fix some of those things that when we were a multi-site company or multi-site plus web, they were okay, but now we have an opportunity to really go back and address like how do we make all of these things a lot easier.
Man.
So lots of work, and that beta is coming. I know everyone's excited for that one.
Yeah,
so.
absolutely. So I have not seen all of Studio, but I've seen a little bit of it, and I got to tell you, it's exciting.
Yeah.
Just even just from a visual perspective, things in places that like make sense, things that used to take maybe like a few clicks are now just like one click away.
Yeah.
Super excited about that.
Yeah, we had a lot of conversations about how do we make Studio cleaner. We talk a lot about cognitive load in the UX world and trying to put things in the right places so that you don't have to think about everything at one time. And so things that are settings, things that are like set it and forget it, they're kind of hidden away under a settings menu. The things that are important, your schedule, your library, your dashboard, those are the things that we are really prioritizing. So it feels very clean. There are fewer buttons, so you're not having to try and figure out 12 options at the same time. We still have a ways to go. There's still some things I think we've talked before about, even like as we were setting up this webinar, hey, it would be great if I could click start on my encoder and pick what destinations I want to go to. And so we still have some things we're working on, but we're being really intentional about cleaning up some of these workflows that we know people want.
No, absolutely. I cannot even tell you the amount of intentionality that I've seen you guys go through, as a product team, even down to like, what do we name things?
Yes.
Like the amount of messages back and forth and options of, should it be called this? What do you think of when you hear this term? And does that, help, someone know what they're going to be doing by clicking on this action? And so just know that when that does release, all of the intentionality, love, and care that went into it, we're trying to make your guys' lives easier and get your audiences hearing your message. So
yeah, and when we talk about names, it's funny because when you look at the menu, you feel like, oh, well, there's only like 8 names on here. How hard could it have been, right? I think we have probably spent over 80 hours in conversation as far as what is in a web encoder profile, what is a web profile, and so we've gone back and forth a lot on what makes sense.
Yeah.
And hopefully the customers that have helped us come up with some of those names, they represent all of our customers.
Absolutely.
And hopefully the names we come up with will make sense.
Well, and that's the fun part, like that's where I feel like, being in your position is probably like having that customer feedback loop and getting to like build this product with them.
Yes.
I think is probably so rewarding.
Yeah. It's interesting because product is a really unique role. Every company I've ever been in, product is a little bit different. And I feel like this organization is very focused on customer feedback and wanting to make sure that everything we do is intentional and that we try not to make the job harder for our customer. And sometimes when you look at the product organization, we have business goals we're trying to achieve. But we work really hard to make sure our business goals also align with our customer goals, which you'll hear that from a lot of product teams.
Sure.
But I feel like we are really intentional about, is what we're doing going to make this better, or is it going to make it worse?
Right.
So, and really focusing on those pain points.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So we're live. You need, like, this is like, whoever's watching this right now, this is their opportunity to get the inside scoop on something that no one else knows about when it comes to what's coming down the pipeline for Resi.
Oh, well, I feel like we've shared a lot of what's coming.
I know, but like, this is your one chance to just give us just something that no one else knows about.
No one knows about. Man, I feel like I've given so many secrets away the last two webinars. Okay, so let's just kind of think about, so analytics we know is a huge one.
Right.
We are working really hard right now on getting that stream URL data available. I
Yes.
feel like every customer is asking right now for
Yes.
that. And we're really close to that one. Just a few more little kinks to work out.
Awesome.
Facebook and YouTube. We've talked about so much stuff.
I know,
I'm like, I don't know what I can give away.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
Sim Live, we're doing a ton with Sim Live. It's not going to be immediate. We're just getting ready to start that work. But
Right.
this is probably one that I haven't talked about.
All
so
right.
here's a
There
new
we
one.
go. There we go.
So from a scheduling perspective today, the way our Sim Live works is that if you want to upload a video or if you want to play back previous content, it's always the last thing that's gone into your web profile.
Mm-hmm.
We are have big plans for hopefully Q3, maybe Q4, depending
It's okay.
on
We're not going to hold you. We're not
I'm
going to hold you
commit
guys
to
to
this yet.
anything, right?
But we are being really intentional about changing that Sim Live workflow.
That's awesome.
We hear from a lot of customers. I just want to be able to like pick the video. I just want to be able to pick the past web event. And so we're really looking at that right now.
That's so exciting.
And hopefully that makes our customers really excited because I know so many of them use Sim Live and trying to
Right.
make that workflow better.
Right. That's awesome. All right. Thanks for sharing. I didn't want to press too hard, but
we just had a meeting on it this morning. So I'm like, oh.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay. So I know that you're super busy and we're not going to keep you too much longer, but I'd love to kind of know, like, what does it mean for you, like, personally, like when you see like something that you and your team have worked so hard on kind of get pushed out of beta and into the wild, like, what does that do for you and how does that feel, as you kind of, I don't know, I would think it's like kind of like sending a kid off to college and being like, okay, like, there you go. Like, what does that feel like?
Yeah, well, sometimes it feels kind of like a sink or swim, let's hope it all works.
Right.
But we do a lot of pre-work with customers, so we always hope that whatever we're launching is the right thing.
Sure.
But yes, it's very much we just spent all this time birthing a baby and now it's going off into the wild and
Right.
let's hope everybody likes it.
Right.
But yeah, it's a really good feeling to know that when we launch something, one, it's going to solve customer issues.
Yeah.
And especially because of our line of work, right? We get to do it for the church. We get
Sure.
to do it for different ministries and organizations. And so it kind of takes on a special meaning. Like I have a background in corporate, and so I like to see our corporate customers and our performance customers, but really my heart is for our ministry and our church
Yeah.
customers. And so I'm always looking at how is this impacting the kingdom?
Sure.
And is this something that is going to make a difference? And then being able to hear those stories back is always really important for me and the team.
Yeah.
Almost all of our product people come from a church background. And so every time we release something, we always are talking about what is this going to do for the kingdom, not just for some customers, but for all of our customers. So we
That's
want to
so
hear
cool.
those stories. So please
Yes.
give us feedback on how things are changing, what you are doing.
Absolutely. All right. That is it for this week, right? Nate's around here somewhere, but I think we do these once a week. So
Okay.
thank you so much for spending the time with us. Seriously, super cool to hear more about your story. Obviously, it's cool to hear what is coming down the pipeline for Resi, and thank you so much for your leadership and what you do around here. It's we would not be Resi without you. So
Well, thank you so much for
Absolutely.
having me. It's great being able to be in town and getting to see everybody face to face.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
It's good to be here.
Awesome. All right, that's it.